tell you my full name. It's Arturo Carlos Lewin Ponce. I'm from Chile. I'm 43 years old. And I'm going to tell you my quick story. I hope that's okay. Can I get a few minutes to tell you my story?
Sure.
And then from then on, I'll tell you how to do what I do, or at least kind of how to guide you. I was born in 1967 in Chile. My first 10 years I spent in Chile, I was really poor. I grew up in a mud house, dirt floor, for my first 10 years. And my father came here in 1970. In 1970, my mother came here in 1972. I was here in 1977, so about 30 years ago. And my other two brothers and my sister came here in 1979. So it took us 9 years for my entire family to be whole together. When I came here, it took me a month to get to the United States. Have you heard that movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Well, that was pretty much us. We took planes, trains, and cars. We crossed the TJ border, Tijuana, and really I was a wetback for my first 10 years when I first got here. I really did cross that border. Have you guys driven to Mexico? And you see the sign with the yellow, the three, the father, the mother, and the son? Well, that was me. That was me. And every time I drive by back there, I laugh every single time. I said, my God, that was me. So when I was running across the 5 freeway, I said, Dad, this is the largest street I've ever crossed. I've never seen a street this big, this wide. In Chile, now it's 2.5 world, but back then it was second world country. And there's only, one way in and one way out, and I was crossing 5 lanes and then another 5 lanes. I'm like, my goodness, I felt I was running across the street forever. So when I get here, that night I spend the night in a trunk of a car, my brother and I. And in the morning, somebody opens the trunk and gives me a bologna sandwich. Bread, bologna, and bread. That was it. It was here. And an hour or two later, I have no idea, I lost track of time, but an hour or two my dad comes and picks us up, and we start driving towards LA. And driving towards LA, I start looking, I said, wait, La Jolla? To me was La Jolla, it's spelled the same in Spanish, so La Jolla. I said, Father, I said, Dad, I call him Papi. I said, Papi, to this day I still call him Papi. And my daughters call me Papi, and so I said, Dad, are we American? Because it's at San Diego, La Jolla, Del Mar, it's all Spanish, right? And Los Angeles. So finally we get in, and so that's my story getting here. And I didn't know a word of English, so when I came here, I was dropped 1 grade. And so I had to learn English quick. And I still remember my friend in 3rd or 4th grade, Greg Jaffe, that was his name. He was teaching me English on the side. And I still remember his name. We're still friends. And so that's my story getting here. But that's where it all started. And so I was 8, 9 years old. So about 12 years old, my parents get divorced here. And when my parents got divorced, my mother, she didn't know a word of English. And I'm one of five kids. So my dad took off, and no child support, no anything. And my mother didn't know a word of English, and we were forced, my mother was forced to clean homes for a living. So she was cleaning 2 houses a day and 2 gas stations a day, 76 gas stations. So $50 a house and $15 a gas station. Have you ever been to a gas station? They're pretty disgusting. So I was helping her out. I was 12 years old. I was driving. And as I was driving, I was like, man, this sucks. What do I tell my friends? My friend was always gone. So I was lying to my friends. I was saying I was helping my mother go and learn English and all this stuff, and so on and so on. So I lied to my friends for many, many years because I was embarrassed. I went to this rich school in Van Nuys, Birmingham High School, and I lived on the other side of the tracks, Van Nuys, right? And Van Nuys. I was like the poor kid in high school, and we all know how much pressure there is in high school. So it's kind of nice to go to my 20-year reunion, my 30-year reunion. I happened to be the most successful guy in school, which was kind of nice. But so that's my story, and cleaning bathrooms was not fun. Seeing my mother struggle and work so hard was not fun. And I was really, really upset with my father because he took off on us with 5 kids. So guess what? At 12 years old, I had to go to work. I went to work. So in back of this, I wrote all my jobs that I've had in my career or in my life. I've had 18 jobs. I've had 18 jobs, and I'm going to tell you real quick. I'm going to get a little personal. I hope it's okay. I've gone through 18 jobs, 2 bankruptcies, a huge divorce. Okay, the divorce, I'm not saying is the average divorce. It cost me $1 million and $6,500 a month. And I'm getting a little personal because I think I can, and I hope I can. And by 30 years old, I was multimillionaire out of all that. So again, I don't want to throw numbers, but I want to get personal because I want to know that my story is true. And it inspired, I hope it inspires you. And it's just information that I want to share with you what I did. And I was trained. I knew that I had to get trained either because I dropped out of college, and I had to get trained. And what I reached out for was somebody like Tim Mann. So I went for personal coaching, and I had all these jobs, 18 jobs, and I was really, really good at all of them. Almost all of those jobs were in sales. They happened to be in financial planning, and this is where I met Enrico in 1993 or 94?
94,
October 94, so he remembers. And I went to work for MetLife at that time, and I used to be called a whole life king. Right? I was selling a lot of life insurance, but I hated it. It wasn't me. He's still in the business, which is all good for him, and but it wasn't for me. I was selling something that wasn't, tangible. And so I tried all these other things. And my last job that I had, I was selling, oh wait, let me back up a little bit. I was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. I was selling for a Fortune 500 company. I was selling an alphanumeric pager when pagers were around, right? That's a long time ago. You probably wouldn't remember, right? Yeah. It was a pager. It was an alphanumeric pager with a live 24 answering service. And it was the greatest thing on earth. And besides the cell phones were not yet. And it was $99 a month and $250 deposit. I'm going back to in the 80s. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. So when I got that job, it took me three weeks to make one sale. And my manager says, "Art, if you don't go out today and make a sale, you're fired. You're fired." And those 3 weeks, he didn't know that I was kind of experiencing, what am I going to do? So I picked up the penny saver. Remember the penny saver? Are the penny savers still around?
Yeah.
If you look at the back of the penny saver, there's a bunch of self-employed people. They're all self-employed, from plumbers to doctors to whatever. They're all self-employed. And I said, man, these guys all need this service. So I started calling one by one, and I happened to get 3 garage door guys that were contractors. And the day that my manager says, if you don't come back with a sale, you're fired, well, I came back with 3 sales, and my commission was $250 each. So from that day forward, out of 3,000 people, I became #1 in the whole country. And I was managing a group of 40 people that were like 3 times my age. This Maverick, it was awesome. It was a really great job. I still have friends that I met there to date. And that was my last job until I found clothing. So I knocked on this door, and the gentleman happened to be doing what I do. And I'm going back to, let's see, I got into business in 1989. In 1989, so this guy orders 2 pagers from me. And I'm like, wow, 2 pagers? This guy must be wealthy. And I said, what do you do? He said, well, I do clothing, and I do custom clothing. I said, well, what do you need 2 pagers for? He says, well, 1 for my clothing and 1 for my real estate. And I'm like, 1 for real estate, okay, cool. So I said, cool. So he recruited me. He took me out of that and got me into clothing. So that was back in 1989. And I've been in clothing ever since. So now I understand why he said real estate, because it's been 20 years since I've been in this business, and I invest heavily in real estate, and now I get what he was saying. So with that said, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, right here to the 7 ingredients for a successful recipe in business and selling and in life. And this is kind of pretty much what I use every single day.